Hello and welcome back to Shakhtar to Glory, episode 19. Today's not going to have any game footage, any live games, any live comms, anything like that. It's primarily going to be a transfer update, a little bit of a tactical maybe discussion about where we're going, taking the team, but mostly the transfers. Have a little bit of a look back how pre-season has gone, that sort of thing. I was going to pair it with a game, but there has been a lot of transfer ins and outs, and I think combining that along with a game would make this video just unbearably long, and about 30 odd minutes, probably longer. So I thought we'll just do a little standalone episode, start the week off, start the second season off with, and just kind of take that into the new season, give an idea where we're going, and sort of go from there. Before we get into the episode, if you wouldn't mind, dropping a sub to the channel, hitting that like button down below, just let me know how this series is going, that you're enjoying watching this series and the progression, how we're getting into it and getting into the real nitty gritty now, and sort of starting to make sort of my own imprint on this team and this squad, bringing players that I want to bring in, I want to play for us, and getting rid of some of the players that maybe don't fit what we're trying to do, and maybe aging a little bit, trying to bring in new blood, that sort of thing. So yeah, as I mentioned before, there has been quite a lot of ins, quite a lot of outs. That's kind of twofold really. The board did finally release some money into the club, into the transfer kitty, so I've had a bit of a war chest there. But also with the outs, there's been a couple of quite substantial outs and some deals that I managed to really ramp up the fees that we're going for. So what we'll do, we'll start with the outs. So we'll go through these one by one. I don't want to bring the screen up as one screen because it will just give everything away. So we'll do this kind of one by one with the main deals. So we're going to start small and work up. The first out, it was kind of a deal that was arranged at the end, sort of as the season was still ongoing. I was trying to get rid of Gustavo Leschuk. He's an Argentinian striker. Doesn't really fit the mould of the kind of player we're trying to use. He may have had his uses, which, given the new tactics and kind of way we're going to play this season, or not new tactics, but a sort of second option, third option, bit more testing has been done on them, which we'll come on to later. He may have worked a bit more, but he's not really good enough. He was worth, I think, about 5-6 million. I couldn't get anywhere near that for him. He ended up going back to Argentina, to San Lorenzo. He's now worth 1.1 million, but he went for 135k. We did only sign him for 180, to be fair, so from another Ukrainian team. So not the worst loss on him. Probably obviously a lot of wages there spent as well, but yeah, he wasn't good enough. He didn't play at all. I don't think, particularly when we brought the new transfers and new strikers in January. He played 11 games for us. I think most of those were early part of the season when we were trying to figure out what we were trying to do. He got 4 goals, so not the worst, but he's not good enough. The next one to leave is Marcio Azevedo. He did well for us last season, left back. He's gone back to Brazil. I think that's Brazil Sport Recife. Yeah, it is back in Brazil. He's 32 years old. I just felt that there was better options, better replacements. He did have, well, both him and Smiley had a lot of injuries. There's a good few suspensions, which were partly down to the way we did commit a lot of fouls, but they particularly seemed to pick up a lot of the red cards. I did touch on it on a couple of episodes ago. We got 1 million for him. Again, he was worth a substantial bit more than that. No one was biting. He's 32 years old. I think he was on quite a high wage as well. So the sort of clubs that were going to be interested weren't willing to pay those sort of wages and transfer fees, etc. So we sold him for 1 million. He goes back to Brazil. He'll see out the rest of his career back in his home country. Didn't want to keep players here. Obviously, once the transfer listed him, he became a bit unhappy. I didn't want to keep him there when he wasn't going to be playing. Quite big wage, still get £1 million in the bank for him. So I thought it was just a good deal for everyone involved. So we did also let go Danielson. Obviously he came in on a free, didn't really have the kind of impact I maybe would have hoped for. He did play a few games, and he was a good bit of cover. But there's a few players who I thought I was going to get rid of last season, who I didn't get rid of and actually played well and played better than Danielson. And a bit younger as well, so more likely to be kept. So it was a kind of obvious deal really. He's now worth 2.9, 30 years old, like I say. He's gone to Club America in Mexico. We got about 4 million for him. I think there are some other clauses in there, and I'm not even sure if that's a complete 3.9 up front or if there are some clauses. But 30 years old, for a player we signed for free, played 9 games, to get 4 million for him, that's not a bad bit of business, is it there really? Bit of money ball coming into play to a degree, although his wages probably cost us a fair bit in that time he was with us. But yeah, he moves on to, he did get a winner's medal for us actually there, which is a bit strange. But he does move on, again he goes back to South America, well kind of Central America and Mexico, but a bit closer to home, and I'm sure as he gets maybe 1 or 2 years on, he'll probably will make that transition back to Brazil, and I don't think he'll be coming back to Europe, put it that way. We were kind of his last shot in Europe, and he didn't really take it, and we didn't really give him a chance to take it, so we wish him well, but off he goes. So, like Azevedo, we've also sold Ismaili, the other Brazilian left back. As I touched upon with the Azevedo deal, he was injured a lot. I don't think he was the better out of the two. I think Azevedo was the better of the two. He wasn't really what I was looking for. I was looking to bring something in a bit younger and just try and reduce the average age down a little bit, and maybe okay, it's 2 Brazilians that are gone, but don't worry, there are plenty that have come in. Don't you worry about that. We'll get onto those ins later. But he's gone to Gladbach. He's still worth 6 million. He's still 28, so he's still got a bit of something to give to the right club. We weren't that club, I don't think. He wasn't quite good enough. I was always having to sub either him or Azevedo if there was quite a few stamina issues. Whether I've replaced those with players that can do that as well or better remains to be seen. But yeah, I think while we could get some money for him, we've got 5.75 for him. Again, I think there's some clauses in there. It was an obvious deal for me, really. I'd been planning these 2 deals to go quite early on. He was very close to joining Leicester, but he couldn't get a work permit, and he was actually going to go to Leicester for more money. I think it's about 8 million. I think he was going to Leicester for. They offered to pay for him, or close to 8 million, certainly as an overall deal, certainly. But the work permit fell through, unfortunately, and offered him out again, and Gladbach came in, and there's a little bit less money, but it was still 6 million, which, bearing in mind, we started last season off with 0 and like £10 extra excess wage budget. Any sort of money I could get in at the time was gratefully received. So again, we wish him luck over in Germany. There's a possibility maybe we may see him in Europe, assuming they've Gladbach qualified for the Champions League. I'm not too sure, I haven't looked into it, but we'll see. So these deals are starting to ramp up in value a little bit now. Gerard Gohu wasn't with us very long. It was a bit of a tough one, this one. I primarily sold him purely because he was 29. I bought him in really as a temporary stopgap. He doesn't really fit the mould. Great finishing, and he's actually had a really good record for us, which we'll see in his history in a minute. He's still worth 9 million. But to get the money we got for him, when I think we only had him sort of 5-6 months maximum, and he came in on a free transfer. He did really well. Whenever I played him, he tended to cause some problems, to score some goals. But it was just that striker position. I was trying to bring in a lot more younger blood. We had a few young players there already. We've got Tyson. If you're assuming we haven't sold him, of course, we'll get onto that. In my mind, when this deal was going through, so we had a lot of players to choose from, and he was kind of, I say weak link. His record was really good, and it was with a kind of like a heavy heart almost that I sold him. He became a bit of a legend for a short term in Shakhtar. You see there, he got 4 goals in 4 games, 8.33 rating. If we'd have played him more, I'd have no hesitation that he would have done a lot more for us. But 6.25, he goes to France. There's a chance to really have a go at something there. I'm not sure again what competition they'll be in next year, if they're in any European competition, but considering he's come from Kazakhstan League for a few years, again his record was pretty good. Couple of over 20 finishes, so it's a really he's a good striker. 129 goals in 257 games. It's not too bad. I think he'll do a good job for Bordeaux, and again, doesn't leave on bad terms. I don't think. I think he was okay. So wish him well, and maybe our paths will cross somewhere down the line in competition down the line. Now, this was a player I mentioned in quite a few episodes that his position was at risk of going. A bit like Gohu, a bit like Leszczuk, doesn't really fit the mould of what we're doing. But again, he had a really good season. He has bizarrely, he switched back to Argentinian nationality. He was Italian while he was with us. I don't know if that's what that's to do with. That's because he's moved or what. I'm not too sure. But again, he did well, but not amazing when you consider what players around him, like Tyson, who wasn't really a striker, Romero, were doing. I felt there was better out there, and I certainly had a few deals already struck, knowing that we had some really good players in that position coming through. So he goes for 9 million. And I was surprised at the club that came in for him. There's a few big clubs coming for him, mostly German, but Dortmund come in for him. Now I'm sure they will be in and around the Champions League this year. Let's see if it's shown already. They are straight to the group stage, so there's a very strong possibility we could be coming across these guys, across Ferreira. So he got 17 goals in 21 games, not too bad. Obviously that's just in the league. He played a fair few Champions League games as well, so his goal tally, I don't know if it will show it too much. Yes, it will. So in continental, he only got 2 in Europe in 8 games, and that's perhaps what struck me to look at a replacement. You know, he was banging them in left, right and centre in Ukraine, but I needed someone who could do it at the upper level as well, against the real top quality teams, and he maybe wasn't quite just at that level. His rating again really good, but again it didn't. I felt we could do better. So out for 9 million, out he goes. And there's one more out, I think, and this is the whopper. Now this was a deal I was hoping not to do. Obviously we sold Stepanovs to Man City, and then Kovalenko was his natural successor, 22 years old. He was whinging a little bit that he wasn't playing much football, but that was primarily while Stepanenko was there. He was still moaning when he was playing, but I didn't transfer list him, I didn't do anything like that. Man City just came in for him, and I basically I think Liverpool actually came in for him first and came in with a deal. Man City then jumped on it, and I managed to eke a bit more money out of them, and he chose to play for them. Almost going to say obviously he went to Man City, but this is a season where Liverpool have just won the Champions League and about 2 days later sacked Jurgen Klopp. But when I looked into it, they did also finish 8th in the league, in the Premier League. So obviously Liverpool favoured a little bit the Premier League there, but they did win the Champions League and still sacked him, so I thought he might have had another season to see what we could do. But Kovalenko chose Manchester City. So now he's worth 23.5, but I did up this deal quite a bit, and there was a few back and forths where I just wasn't accepting their final offer, and eventually they relented and gave me a bit more money. So we got £35 million for him. I think for a 22-year-old who still wasn't fully established, he wasn't fully trained in the role and the position I was trying to get him to play, may not have ever fully done it, but he was determined, a determined personality, 18 determination. I think he would be a very good player for Man City, and obviously they got him and Stepanenko in midfield, forming quite a formidable centre midfield partnership there. So we'll have to see how that develops and what comes in. But again, another player that we could potentially be, coming in contact with, maybe even this season, who knows. So we'll move on from the outs. There's, apart from Kovalenko, the only other outs really, we've had a couple of loan players go out. Again, we're going to start low to high. So there's a few players here who are going to be sort of 16, 17, 18, 19 years old. They're not for the first team just yet. They're going to be playing in the under-19s, the under-21s, maybe a bit of retraining, a bit of specialisation to see what we can get out of them. Now this guy comes in from Norway, Anas Farah. Where did he come from? He came in from Fredrikstad. Now he got quite a good review by my scouts. It's not showing it at the moment there, potential ability 3.5, but he came really highly recommended by my scouts. So I thought I'd take a pop on him. He did only cost me 9.5k. It's been actually around a few years. He's only 18. He didn't have the best performance last year in whatever league that is. Some low league Norwegian division, but he's attacking midfielder, which we'll come on to later. Obviously I'm training him now. I think I am training him as a centre midfielder, trying to get him trained up for there, but knowing he can play that attacking midfield and attacking midfield right position is vital. He did play in the French Youth Invitational, and I think that's where my scouts spotted him actually, and he played really well. I think he got third best player or something in that, so went straight in there, and I think we did have a bit of competition for him, but we got in quick and got him. So this guy is the next one. The next cheapest deal in actually. but he's 35 years old, which is why. But he's a veteran centre back, and obviously with the three at the back formation we play, if we do want to carry on playing that tactic, which there is a certain idea based around that, which I'll try and touch upon in the tactics bit again. We're going to need at least 5 or 6 in the club, in the first 11, in the squad. And we tried to sign Paz, who we had on loan last year. He would, another year older, I think he would be a quality player, but Sporting Lisbon, wanted like 85 million for him or something, wouldn't budge below 60, and I just wasn't willing to pay that for a relatively untested, unused young defender. So also I needed some Ukrainian players to fit in the Champions League registration squads. That's where this guy comes in. He's not got bad pace for a 35-year-old. He's got good tackling, good marking. His heading's not too bad. He's 6 foot, very determined. His positioning, I think, is average, but he's got pedigree, and he has played for Shakhtar before. He's not homegrown trained, but he is nation trained, so that's another tick in that box. There's not many Shakhtar players out there who have got the homegrown for Shakhtar that I can get, who are better than what we've got really, or even could just be backups. There's not a great deal that I can get, or that I want particularly. So this guy comes in from Verez. He had a average season last year. I think they got relegated, so that didn't really help. But I think if we can get, he's very much a backup player, and for what he is, 56k, I think that's adequate. He's only on 1k a week. Yeah, I think he'll do a good backup job for us. So another young player who's going to go straight into the under-19s. He is again being trained as a centre midfielder. I think as the box-to-box position, but he can play that CDM role. 18-year-old Tunisian. Again, I think it's Tunis he came from. I think they won the African Champions League equivalent or something like that, and I had a bit of a scout report from that, and he came back really well. But the thing that really stood out for me was that 20 determination, determined character. He could be a really good, he could develop into something really good here. With the right nurturing, the right amount of game time, the right bit of playing, he's 3.5 potential. I think he could, I don't know if a player can technically surpass that, but I think he could be a very good player. He's played 16 games for Tunis. Not a very good rating, but that's the league rating, and it's again not really reflective in his rating. I don't have the Tunisian league loaded, so but he's one to look out for the future, and I think he might not be too long before he's knocking on the door for the first team in that centre midfield spot, especially with, like I say, the new tactic sort of style we're looking at. There is potentially a position there for him if he doesn't learn the centre midfield role, naturally, and he sticks as a CDM. There's potential there to be a centre back as well. He's already semi-trained there. He's got some good stats, but I think the midfield is where we're looking for him to start off, certainly. Now this one is very much a reason why Ismaili and Azevedo left. Leo from where do we sign from? Was it Fluminense? Yeah. He looks fantastic. He's 2.5 current potential, current ability, 3.5, possibly up to 5. No, 3.5 potential, but I think he'll come good. He's worth 6 million now. I think we paid about that for him. Oh, we only paid 3 for him. Real bargain there, I think. And he came off the back of a good season. There's potential there to grow. He's only 22 years old. He could be here for quite some time. He can play left back, full back, wing back. He can play most of the actual roles and duties as well. So a really good player there. He's got some. He's won. I don't know what cup that is. Copa Pedregal de Brazil. Not too sure. Is that like their FA Cup or something? I'm not too sure. But he's got some really good stats there. Again, we can whack Cerner maybe to try and tutor him, try and boost up some of the other stuff that isn't there already, and just see where it takes him. But I think he's got all the attributes there we need. He's got 15 stamina, so he's already boosted up on those other 2 already. So this player I'm really excited to bring into the first team. So this one is actually a deal that I struck when we got the money in January, I think, off the Stepanenko deal. He couldn't come in straight away because I think he was only 17 at the time. We had to wait for him to hit 18 before he would come over, which is now. He cost me 3.5, I think, which is a bargain. He's actually doing really well in Brazil at the moment. He's on par with Vinicius Junior, who's just joined or joining Real Madrid for sort of 45 million, but this guy's sort of on his level and doing as well, but he's not being picked up at the moment. 3-star ability, 5-star potential, 4-star Horizons, 5-star potential. I have got him listed for loan. If I can get him someone in Ukraine to take him, my affiliates so far, he won't join. But I'd like, we'll see if we can get him maybe at a loan. Get the nation homegrown status, that'd be quite good. His goal scoring ratio is not too bad, but for an 18-year-old, I'm very happy with that. And I think in the Ukrainian League, he can tear it up, build his confidence up, boost his stats, and then take that into Champions League and just catch up to Romero in a few years maybe. I mean, he's the same sort of age as Romero. He's a little bit behind him, I'd say, but not far. This guy, very excited to have him around the team, and like I say, if we can get him loaned out, great. If not, he'll definitely play a part. Now, there's not actually that many transfers left. Now, I seem to recall business being a lot more happening than this. The outs were lower than I thought. The outs would be higher if I could get rid of a few. There's a few more I can't get rid of still. But the ins I thought we had a few more, particularly strikers. I thought I'd gone a bit mad on the strikers, but seemingly not. But we'll look at the squad a bit and see how it's evolved, because I have also promoted a couple from the under-21s, the under-19s I think as well. So players that were out on loan last year, come back, couldn't record them last year, got them back now, and they're ready to maybe step into the first team. This guy, with in mind the tactical tweak we may have for the European games, a wonder kid, couldn't really say no to him really, but Ezequiel Barco comes in from Independiente, attacking midfielder. He just looks a class player, and obviously he's scoped to grow. There's a few things we need to work on, his determination particularly being one of them. I am training him to work playing centre midfield, just in case we do stick with that tactic we played last season and play it a bit more. Just gives us that balance. He can already play the attacking midfield roles, so we don't need to train him there too much. He comes in for 4.7 million. Now, for a wonder kid, that's a fantastic bit of business, and even if he doesn't figure that much and we sell him on for 10 in a couple of years or a year or two, it's not that bad. But if we can get something out of him in the meantime, I'll be absolutely delighted, and we welcome into the club an Argentinian rather than Brazilian, so something a little bit different, but he can pair up nicely with Romero. We've got Romero there who can speak Spanish for him as well, so it's all sort of slotting into place a little bit now. This is the penultimate transfer. So Roman Yaremchuk. Now, he was a player I was looking at a little bit during the season, and I didn't actually realise he'd actually signed. We signed him from Ghent in Belgium. He'd actually signed for them at the start of last season from Dynamo Kiev, I believe. So we wouldn't have been able to get him then, but we'd been able to get, if we had, it'd been a lot cheaper than what he cost us. They struck a tough deal, but we needed some more Ukrainian players in there. He's a Ukrainian international, got 2 goals in 5 caps. He's got some stats there that we can work with, certainly. He can drop back into attacking the field, he can play on the left if we need him to. I think this guy could be a very good Ukrainian player, and I'm surprised Shakhtar let him go for as little as Kiev let him go for as little as they did. They sold, well, it's undisclosed, we don't actually know what we sold him for, but he went to Ghent, 15 goals in 27 games. Not too bad, not amazing for what is probably a lower level league, but at the same time he's going to come into a team that's got a lot more service, a lot more quality to provide him chances, and he hadn't really played before that, so this is really his kind of chance to show the world what he's got. And he can play the advanced forward primarily. If we play the front three, he can play the poacher role, he can play that front three. The sort of changes and tweaks we've gone with a little bit, it may work for some of those as well. So he's a very handy player to have around. He's got the homegrown Ukrainian status, not the Shakhtar but the Ukrainian, so he fits for the Champions League team as well. So we could even have options where some play in the league, some play in the Champions League, and we can mix and match and try and keep everyone happy with games. And the final one is Mateus Fernandes. Now, I seem to have this idea that he was another wonder kid, but he seems to have lost that status now he's come to us. But 3.5 current ability, 4, potentially 5 potential ability, 20 years old. This guy is going to be incredible, and it kind of pains me a little bit that we signed, I forget his name now, the other Brazilian last year, the other midfielder in January, which we needed him at the time because we didn't have a choice, but we didn't know about this guy. Maybe it would have cost too much then, who knows, and maybe I did look at him, but this guy would have been much better jumping in straight away, I think. He's coming off the bat. He's got two appearances, 2 goals in pre-season, and he looks like a special player. We signed him from Botafogo, 10.5 million. I think he's an absolute steal. He's already worth 13. He's got some really good stuff there we can work with. We can try and boost him up, build him up, and the more he plays, I think the better he is just going to get. He is just going to, and he'll probably will be my first choice box to box midfielder. He's got some work to do to really play that role, finishing particularly. Stamina maybe needs some work, and fitness, but he's only 20 years old. We can do that. So the last little thing to touch on really, I think, here now is the tactics. So like I said, we've got this 5-2-3 short that we were playing last season. Very much a kind of semi-exploitative tactic. The 3 strikers do seem to work very well this year. I think the 3 centre-backs do as well. And the personnel I brought in primarily to start with was based around this. But I think the PSG game showed us, giving the possession away that we do, like we do in the league, like we did in the group stage, we can't do that against those, the Barcelonas, the PSGs, the Real Madrids. If we do that, I mean, PSG, 2-0 start with, we went 2-0 up, but we gave that 2-goal, we surrendered that 2-goal lead late on, and then, we couldn't really shut that shop up with this tactic. It's still very attacking, and also, I think we just give away too much possession. In the second leg, it hurt us. We couldn't do it. Very good at home. Away from home, we struggled, and that's very much down to the possession, that kind of thing. We were just letting teams onto us a bit too much away from home, a bit too open. Didn't keep hold of the ball as much as we'd like. So with that, we've got I think they're 4-2, both 4-2-3 ones. No, slightly. So this tactic is very much more geared towards trying to press the team up high, trying to play, quite a high line here, relying on the team to win the ball back higher up the pitch, doing some damage there, and just getting Romero in and trying to finish those goals, and giving a bit of width to stretch the teams as well. We were very narrow in that other tactic. Obviously, the wing backs provide a bit of width, but then there's a lot of danger going in behind them. With this, we've got width and cover, and we can try and press the ball back, counter attack, get the ball back, and just get it forward quick, and just try and do as much damage as much as possible. The kind of other side of that is something that could be used either to try and retain a lead, but still retain some attacking danger. Is this kind of Barcelona-esque 4-1-2-2-1. There is potential for the anchor man to move up to attacking midfield as well if we need that, but it's very much based around keeping the ball, playing it around, neat little passing, trying to work a chance, and just using the quality that we've got in the team to try and break down the opposition and see what we can do, and keep hold of that ball and just give our possession stats a little bit of a boost, because we're very much in the 40s, low to mid 40s for a lot of last season, and I just feel this gives us more options. We do maybe need to look at the wide positions. I have still got Petrak, the young Ukrainian guy, who's actually very highly rated. I've got a couple of young players who come through the system as well, who are very good, highly potential rated, so they could possibly jump in as well. So there are options for those wide positions. We've got Tyson can drop out there still. We've got Alan Patrick can give me an option there. There's a few others. We got that Yaremchuk can play on the left, not very well, but he can. Barakier can play out on the wings. So we have got choices and versatility in this team. Not more luck than judgment, I'd say. Some of those players have come in based on the first tactic, but we did see in the PSG game I didn't have a plan B. I thought I did. We had that long ball kind of tactic. It did do nothing. I am looking and working on another tactic offline that could be similar to that, and it's trying to influence it around the old crazy gang of Wimbledon a little bit. It's a work in progress, still quite a bit of a way to go, but it probably is more towards a lower league kind of team, really. So there is another save I contemplated against Shakhtar. If this does fade out, or we miraculously win the Champions League this season, it's kind of the end of the challenge. we may still have time to see that and maybe evolve that Wimbledon tactic a bit more and see if we can get it, the old Wimbledon, the old crazy gang tactic, and see if we can implement that into the lower leagues with what is essentially not currently where I live now, but where I lived previously was my local team and is the team I try and visit as much as possible for games. So I'd like to do something with that, but we'll see how that goes. But we do jump pretty quickly into the games in the league, and they're very thick and fast. And see straight away we've got Alexandria and Stal, who were Alexandria I think finished third, and Stal finished like fifth or sixth, but flew out the blocks last season. We don't play Dynamo Kiev in the league until, well, it's only a few weeks away really, but it's like 6-7 games. Let's have a quick scout for it. So obviously we are in the Champions League group stages straight away. The cup hasn't been drawn yet, and we end with one of the new teams in the league. In fact, one of the new teams in the league. And Arsenal Kiev are our affiliates. We've got 2 affiliates in this division now, so it's very, very interesting. Kiev, we seem to get out of the way fairly quickly. December we played them last. Obviously, I imagine they'll be in the top half of the table, and when that split happens, we'll be playing them again. But we do. The next episode will be that Charity Shield game, which is against Dynamo Kiev, and then from there we will probably skip a lot of these games and come back for Kiev again, which will coincide somewhere around the end of the transfer window and possibly the Champions League group stage draw as well. We should know by then, or around that time. So until then, I'll see you later.